This is my presentation. Significance and or challenges to the cultural exchange between East Asia and the world in historical or contemporary times by Jack Katz. The East and West have a very interesting and different relationship. A lot of East Asia was fully closed off from the world for a long period of time, which made it a very interesting place for many foreigners. The relationship between the two sides has lasted a long time, from the Silk Road trade system to now in modern times. East and West have been compared and contrasted in so many ways, but they always have their similarities. Both cultures copy each other in a lot of different ways. Throughout this PowerPoint, I'll be showing you this important relationship as it has shaped out and changed throughout history. The early gap between societies. During the Middle Ages, differences in the social class system were one of the major factors that affected many areas of life when the two societies interacted. The divide between Western feudalism and the Eastern social society, competing in different ways of trading, and the varying government stability drove these two societies away from one another. The life of a daily common folk was very different in the two societies depending on what kind of leader that you had. And I wanted to add something. So this is a overarching theme of my entire PowerPoint, and I will mention a couple times. But obviously, during the Middle Ages and times before that, in the ancient times, we were very separated, our societies, East and West. But as time has gone on and technology and advanced, and we've gotten more modernized, we've gotten closer and closer together. And you will see later on in my PowerPoint. For now, we're going to move on. Westerners' interest in the East. The East, and in particular East Asia, was cut off and isolated from the rest of the world for most of ancient history. Many explorers were interested in the East because of all the unanswered questions the world had about the East. One of these explorers, who I'm going to highlight, named Matteo Ricci. He was a priest, an Italian priest who went on a Jesuit mission trip to China to try to teach Christianity. There's a picture of him on the right. He was one of many people who did this, specifically trying to teach religion. Most people that were trying to teach religion went to the Silk Road to do that because in those times, the Silk Road was the only connection really from the east to the west. And I also wanted to add that to this day, there's still an interest in East culture from a Western perspective. Me myself, always wanted to go to Asia, and I still do want to go. It's one of my bucket list places that I want to go to. And I know many others feel that way. So I still think that there's a lot of interest between the same things, really. Eastern culture's impact on Western art. Dutch painter and one of the most famous painters ever, Vincent van Gogh, along with many other Western artists, were heavily influenced by Japanese-style art. Van Gogh specifically was fascinated by Japanese woodcuts. He admired the bold designs, intense colors, and flat areas of pure color. He also appreciated the elegant and simple lines. These influences can be seen in many paintings of Van Gogh and many other Western artists, but one that I picked was The Courtesan by Van Gogh. I also picked another painting as well by Van Gogh, as you can see on the right. I want to dive into The Courtesan first, which is the yellow one right next to the paragraph. So you can obviously see the subject is of Asian descent and uses the Bushido style in this type of work. You also can see in the background the cherry blossoms, which are Japan's national flower. That is also seen in the picture to the right as well. One other thing I wanted to point out was the formatting of both of these paintings. As you can see, there's kind of like a subject in the middle, and there's a outside, which is kind of like a background. That's a very commonly used design in Japanese art. Moving on, another thing I wanted to get into, and something that we looked a lot at during class, was movies and entertainment. When I think back to watching movies in this class, the movie that pops up in my head the most is My Girlfriend is a Cyborg. I say this because of the clear distinction this movie has between a typical Hollywood movie. What stood clear with me was that the robot, which in this case was the girlfriend, is extremely helpful. In many American and Western films, the robots are usually ones that are destroying and trying to hurt the humans in a certain way. But obviously, in this case, the cyborg is a helping hand. I think this happens because of how humans in these respective societies perceive and interact with robots. How people think that in the future how robots could work. And I think that has a factor in how these two societies look at how robots are used. Another thing I wanted to tap into was sports. I am a huge sports fan, and I have personally seen Asian culture develop, the liking for more Western sports, and I'll get into that as this slide goes. But sports have been rooted in both societies for centuries. Sports and Asian culture evolve around the human versus nature connection. Excuse me. Most sports in Western culture is a human versus human, competition or connection, if you will. Another thing I wanted to say was, in a lot of societies, sports, appear and are very influential in other, facets, and they are very common in most cultures. But another thing I wanted to say as we move towards recent time is, as time moves on, Asian cultures have become more in tune with modern leagues such as the NBA, MLB, the English Premier League, and many other soccer leagues. Something I wanted to note, something that's been in the news a lot, as a soccer fan, the Chinese Super League has gained a lot of attention because of the amount of money that is being poured into it by the government of China. And I think this shows a, growth for the intrigue of soccer in China. And I think that just shows, the development of sports in general. Yes, our sports originate from different meanings, but as the world advances, a lot of our sports have become the same or similar. Another thing I wanted to get into was technology. I don't want to necessarily compare and contrast technology between the two cultures, but the thing I wanted to get was how technology has made these two cultures closer and more in common than ever before. Now with technology being so advanced, you can see what someone is doing on the other side of the globe with just a click of the button. This draws people all around the world closer together. Now more than ever before, technology lets us create, embrace, and communicate all together, helping close the gap between religions, societies, and cultures. Now more than ever, people from two different sides of the earth can collaborate, and that makes the possibilities endless. I also wanted to add that I think what technology does is it can make people more informed of other, societies and things that we would not have known without technology. So I just think it's a great way that you can kind of tap into another culture just through a phone and learn a lot more about different people and different cultures. Conclusion. There will always be differences between Eastern and Western culture, but that is what makes them special in their own regard. These two cultures have never been more connected, and there is genuine interest from both sides in finding out more about each other. In ancient times, the divide was extremely big between the two cultures, but as time has gone on, and as we have modernized both, we have been mirroring each other and coming closer and closer together. And I think that, in general, that this has helped out a lot with, people all around the world, but I think specifically between Eastern and Western culture. It was so misunderstood. Back before all technology became a thing, and I think now it's a lot more easier to connect with each other. And that is it. Thank you for watching.